Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about why the Senate election in 2026, in my opinion, really won't matter too much for who has control over the Senate, who leads the Senate, whether it be the Democrats or the Republicans. And this mainly has to do with one single person. First off, I want to point out by talking about what the Senate election could look like. So, the Senate election right now looks something like this. Michigan, New Hampshire, Maine, North Carolina, and Georgia. I don't know why this is that color. It should really be a darker blue. But all of these states are a toss-up. They're so very, very close. And I first want to point out, even if Democrats do manage to win every single one of these states, they would have 49 to 51, not including the vice president. Even if they were to win something like Ohio, they have 50-50, and Republicans would still have the majority, being they have the vice president. So just as a statistical reminder of what the Senate could look like, it's already starting off not good for the Democrats, and shows that it's very, very unlikely that they would ever win the Senate. They would have to win Michigan, Maine, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Georgia, Ohio, and then some other state like Texas or Iowa, which again is not at all likely. Maybe Texas. Maybe if you want to pull the Texas card and say this is the year that Texas is going to be blue, that you can pull it, but we've been saying that for like the past forever. So I would not anything I'd bet on. Like, they're also running Colin Allred, the same guy they ran last time. I don't even understand why they would do that. It's like running the same presidential candidate again. Anyway, and Trump doesn't count. That's not fair. He's got a cult. That's a little different. Anyway, I don't think that's a great move. But so starting off, even if Democrats manage to win all five of these swing states, boom, 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 still 49 to 51. So not a majority. One less than half, and even if they do have half, they would still not be able to pass much because of the vice president. So that's just the statistical side of things. The other reason the Senate won't matter too much is because of a little-known senator from Pennsylvania, who I will get into by reading this article. Senate votes down resolution to block Trump's ability to strike Iran without authorization. So there's this bill that said, Trump, you cannot strike Iran without authorization because, that's illegal. Because the Constitution very clearly says only the Congress, can declare war. Congress was trying to reinforce that. All Republicans voted against it except for one. All Democrats voted for it except for one. The resolution, authored by Senator Tim Kaine, aimed to affirm that Trump should seek authorization from Congress before launching more military action against Iran. Asked Friday if he would bomb Iranian nuclear sites again if he deemed necessary, Trump said, "Sure, without question." The measure was defeated in a 53-47 vote in the Republican-held House or Senate. One Democrat, Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, joined Republicans in opposition, while Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky was the only Republican to vote in favor. So one Republican, Rand Paul, voted in favor of it. One Democrat, Senator John Fetterman, voted against it. This is a constant theme. We consistently see John Fetterman breaking with Democrats in the Senate, and in many bills leading to its defeat or its passage by small margins. In many ways, he can be compared to former Senator Joe Manchin, that piece of shit from West Virginia. So that's what this bill here was attempting to do. He voted against it. John Fetterman, Democrat, said, "You know what? We don't care about the Constitution. Trump can bomb Iran because I feel like it." That's who John Fetterman is, joining Republicans. Here's another example. Fetterman joins GOP in voting to confirm Mike Huckabee as ambassador to Israel. Huckabee once said that he believes there is really no such thing as a Palestinian. Good God. Fucking evil Santa Claus over here. Um, the Senate confirmed former Arkansas governor and fervent Christian Zionist Mike Huckabee as the U.S.'s next ambassador to Israel after numerous rights groups called on the Senate to oppose his nomination. Huckabee was confirmed 53 to 46. I don't know what the hell happened to that. Who's missing? We're missing someone. Someone didn't vote. Anyway, Huckabee was confirmed 53 to 46 in what was largely party lines vote, except for Democratic Senator John Fetterman, Pennsylvania, who voted with Republicans in favor. Advocates for Palestinian rights have long raised alarms about Huckabee's nomination over his clear bias towards Israel and his numerous statements dehumanizing Palestinians. He visited Israel over 100 times. Bro, why? Why would you do that? Even if you love it that much, who visits that much? Like, I like different places as much as the next guy, but going 100 times seems a little excessive. Anyway, he has visited Israel over 100 times and espouses his beliefs as a Christian Zionist who believes Jewish people must take over Palestine in order to fulfill a biblical prophecy. We just elected someone. Sorry, we didn't elect anyone. The Senate just elected someone who believes in biblical prophecies and uses that as his reasoning. He's backed Trump's plan for total ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza and has called for Israel to annex the West Bank. This guy, total warmonger, Zionist openly, war criminal, calling for Israel to annex the West Bank. That's not legal, but who cares? So John Fetterman voted for this guy. John Fetterman voted to install this guy as ambassador to Israel. So this is the guy in charge of negotiations with Israel, right here, other than Donald Trump. Okay, another one. Fetterman traveled to Israel and met with Netanyahu despite blowback on the left. Senator John Fetterman has cultivated an image in Congress as an unapologetically brash progressive Democrat. He ran a progressive campaign, not anymore. So not necessarily in Congress, but it's really that stroke. We'll get back to that. In an interview with NPR in Jerusalem on Thursday before the CNN presidential debate, Fetterman said progressives who refused to vote for President Biden over his handling of the war in Gaza could cost Democrats the election. That didn't even matter. Progressives did vote for Kamala Harris. It didn't matter. Granted, people not wanting to vote for a candidate who supports a genocide of an ethnic group is probably a pretty good reason not to vote for someone. Anyway, de facto, you're supporting Trump, he said. If you're willing to play with that kind of fire, you should really be willing to own that if that's the way it goes. Right. Okay. Not to mention, I want to point out this guy's state. Trump didn't even win this guy's state. So here he is, playing the middle road. Didn't work out for him, did it? Kamala Harris playing the middle road, not talking about Israel, continuing to support Israel. Didn't work out. He wore a signature sweatshirt in an hour-long meeting Wednesday with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who praised Fetterman for his courageous and heartwarming response to the pro-Palestinian demonstrators gathered outside his home earlier this year. He faced them holding up an Israeli flag. I want to thank you for your courageous statements that show moral clarity and moral courage, and just say it the way it is. Netanyahu said. So here he is speaking with Benjamin Netanyahu, who is, for no better word, no better term to describe him, modern day Hitler. Benjamin Netanyahu is a modern day Hitler, supporting the ethnic cleansing of a group because he wants to take their land and because they're a different color and religion. And probably in his mind a different species. So here he is being complimented by an actual war criminal, someone who has an arrest warrant out for them by the ICC. Um, Not great. It's never good when you're complimented by a war criminal. Um, and then finally, here are the Senate Democrats who hope to help to. Whoa. Here are the Senate Democrats who helped Republicans avert a shutdown. So earlier in the year, with the stopgap funding bill, a couple of Democratic senators, 10, voted with Republicans to pass a budget which greatly benefited the Republicans. John Fetterman, head of the vote, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York said, and Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania were among the first Democrats to publicly back the Republican funding bill, arguing that a shutdown would only strengthen Trump's hand. That was their example. That was their reasoning. It would only strengthen Trump's hand. Only strengthen it. So instead of doing that, instead of wanting to strengthen Trump's hand, what did they do? They strengthened Trump's hand directly. So to conclude here, this is Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. John Fetterman repeatedly votes with Republicans against the wills of Democrats and others in his party, progressives, liberals, whoever, and he votes with Republicans just like Joe Manchin. So circling back to this map, I want to point out a new perspective. Even if Democrats do manage to win all of these seats here, and they get a magical 51 majority out of their ass, they're still really going to be at 50. And it's going to give Republicans the advantage because Senator John Fetterman is most likely going to vote repeatedly with Republicans. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight that about John Fetterman and the current state of the Senate.